Everyone wants to lend some money to Ken and find out.
Well, let me invest it for you.
Greek bonds. Yeah. Right.
Did you answer that question at the end that you posed about what's going on?
No. I think the trouble is, I think it's one of the systems that I'm not sure you can have an authority, you can have a closed hearing about it. Because at each stage you open up one thing more. Maybe some formula, I don't see how it's quite clear. There's a lot of, as just the beginning, there's a lot of history of financial crisis where people obviously did things which turned out to be very bad. And the question is why, given that, our usual point of view is, people will hedge, diversify. You don't put all your eggs in one basket, sort of thing. And that's what I've written on most of my life and things. I mean, to get worried that that's not a descriptive statement. And the question, and I say the real puzzle is why people who are highly informed, or should be highly informed, and have a lot at stake, too. The question of how well informed you should be does depend on how much you have at stake. But these people have a lot at stake, so there's none of those explanations. It's easy to understand, for example, if I'm putting my money in a bank, I'm not really in a position to check out what the bank is really sound about. That's why I want regulation, I want deposit insurance, all these things. But these are the big players, not the small, but people who it does pay require this information. And they find if they've foregone, somebody else is making a lot of money and they're not. They infer that they've made a mistake.
So there's been there's a recent book by one of your colleagues, Bob Frank at Cornell, in which the main argument is that one shouldn't think of people as, broadly speaking, utility maximizers. It's thinking of them as wanting to do better than their competitors.
Yeah, well, you see, but they're not. But interesting is that doesn't explain this, though. Let me grant that motivation. They didn't do well.
No, that's motivation.
If they in fact did better than their competitors, let's say they lost money, but they lost less money than anybody else. But that's not. But that doesn't seem to be the explanation. I mean, that's a perfectly coherent theory. But unfortunately, I don't think it doesn't seem to quite explain that.
What about, not all the cases, but some of the cases explained by moral hazard? That is, you can take a risk if you think there's somebody in the background that's going to bail you out.
Yeah, but
that leads to different behavior if you have that probable moral hazard.
Yeah, that's been an argument that gets discussed a lot. However, Lehman Brothers was allowed to go under. It's true that some of them were bailed out. The AIG was bailed out, or not really so much AIG, the people who they're dealing with the credit default, but Bear Stearns survived, but the people there were kind of wiped out. A lot of them. But they did let Lehman Brothers go under. They did let Lehman Brothers go under, so they may have thought they were going to get bailed out.
But of course.
But it is true. But your point is well taken. There is a feeling that the government is going to intervene if things get too bad. In fact, that position is an old one. Walter Paget in the 1880s, the discussion of the role of the Bank of England, was it's the lender of last resort. You pump, if things are going bad, you pump money in the system, which, from the point of view of the banks, amounts to at least something of a bailout. Yeah, there's no question moral hazard. It does play a role in this. The idea is that if you're big enough, or if it isn't so much people talk about too big to fail. It's a little misleading. It's if a bunch of banks, each one is small, but they're all going to fail. From the public policy point, that's just the same thing. So it isn't sheer size. It's that there's a high correlation in the risks among different individuals. That's the real point. And then it's true that there is always a feeling that the government will be better. They did interfere in LTCM actually. That one passed. It turned out in the end they got a bunch of banks that did bail out. And the banks who did the bailing out didn't in fact lose any money. Well, by the way, especially the government's getting back the bulk of its money. But you're right, there is some sense in which the government will intervene. Now, we go down the austerity route, which is being so much pushed, that may end. And then if we take it seriously, it would be a view that, but of course, they didn't apply to Greece.
I think it's a testament, thank you, Ken, for this presentation. It's a testament to the scope of Pat's work that we have covered in this brief session, the spectrum from the relevance of set theoretic structures to understanding economic reality to the topic on the front page of today's New York Times, the relationship between discussions between the head of the IMF and Angela Merkel about the wisdom of austerity. So thank you very much.
Somebody